Why are stories so important to help convey the message of Scripture?
Well, I don't know to have all the answers. I think first they're important because people remember them. They may not remember your text, they may not remember all your preaching points, but they remember the stories you tell. So the remembering is really important. The second thing that I would say is important is when you tell a story, people listen. If you're just preaching away, they may or may not be listening, and most of the time probably not. But if you tell a story, they will listen. And so I think those probably, as far as I'm personally concerned, are the two most important points about why they're important to you. So also, in order to make a sermon work, there's got to be what I call pictorial material, and that's basically illustrations and stories. And so, very much the key to your sermon is illustrated. Also key to teaching. You sat in class with me, you've heard me tell stories in class. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the next question is, how do you maintain a practice of collecting stories? And I know you'll probably talk about your drawer. On both a week-to-week basis, so for specific sermons, and then on a consistent basis for reading, creating, and collecting stories not pertaining to a specific sermon.
Well, I do everything I can to find a story. I'll buy a whole book for one story. Somebody tells me there's a story in a book, I'll buy a whole book. Even sometimes from authors that I don't like personally, but because there's a good story, somebody tells me the story, I'll buy a whole book to get the story. Now, what I've done through the years is, and I'm sure you've heard this before, I make my own little index in the back of the book, because I can remember the book that I got the story out of, but I can't always remember where in the book I got it. So what I've always done is make my own little index in the back of the book. It becomes more difficult today when we do a lot of our reading from readers. It becomes more difficult, and so what you may want to do is you may want to make copies, or find some way, or notate, make a note. I think if I were starting out today, I'd probably have a notebook, something like what you've got, and I would keep it beside the book I'm reading and make a note, the stories, and sort of my own index apart from that. That's probably what I would do. Number one. A lot of times, if I find a book and where I've got a copy machine, and of course nowadays we've all got copy machines at home and everything else, I'll just make a copy of it and throw it in the drawer. As you know, you've heard me say, I throw it in the drawer. That's exactly what I do. I don't I will look for, if I'm working on a sermon, I try to get what I'm going to preach on, the basic synopsis of the sermon down on Monday. I like to get that down in writing on Monday. And I'll live with it all week long. So, as I'm doing everything else, it's in the back of my head. What can I tell that will fit this particular story? So there is that personal thought that goes into it each week. But as far as week to week planning stories, I will keep a file. I told you before, I will keep a file with each week. I throw it in a drawer. The advantage to doing it that way is that sometimes there's an illustration that will fit your sermon that you're really not thinking about, and as you work through the stuff in the drawer, or me, as I work through the stuff in the drawer, I may find something that, wow, this fits this really well, even though I would have thought in the first place it might be an evangelistic story or something like that. Now I find it's a very good story for building up faith in someone. So that's one of the advantages of working through the stories that you've got. Also, I want to say some point here, this may not be the right place, but at some point, I have learned to take stories from my life, stories that I have experienced, and sometimes I've made whole sermons out of a story from my life. I don't know. I ran away from home when I was a kid, and my folks welcomed me back, and so I build a whole sermon on the prodigal son by that experience I had. One time when I was in the third grade, they gave us citizenship grades back in those days. And, you know, you get a regular grade and you get a citizenship grade. So, this was, you know how old I am, so this is a long time ago. But my teacher would write my name on the board if I did something wrong. Third grade. 3 marks. After 3 marks, I got a spanking. And if I got a spanking at school, I got another spanking when I got home. I wasn't smart enough yet to figure out not to tell my dad. My dad was very much a discipline. So this one time she was careful to put marks. She just thought she kept. I got 10 marks after the second one. I was too young to understand. I thought I had it made, you know. And so when my report card came out, she wrote a big red U. Red U. Everything else in black and blue.